Welcome back, True Seeker. It's Monday, November 12th, 2018, episode 3 of the Patreon exclusive podcast. Thank you, everyone who signed up. I'm going to eventually get a schedule here so that you can know exactly what time this show is going to start each day. A lot of my life is dictated by what's going on in my special lady's life. She needs me to chauffeur her around and whatnot. Do a lot to help her out because she's in a very demanding pharmacy program right now. But I'm trying to figure out what's the workable schedule so that I can show up on a consistent time each day. And I'm starting to think it's going to be right around this 1 o'clock in the afternoon time most days of the week. I might have to schedule it at a slightly different time on days like Friday. Friday's kind of my wild card day of the week. My lady often has to, it's her errand day. I usually got to help her out. So, I'm thinking Monday through Thursday, though, right around 1 o'clock. Friday, I'll have to figure out what the special time slot is. So, anyway, lots to talk about. Somebody sent me an email and asked if I could talk more about my nutrition. They think my skin looks really good for my age. And just real quick, I'll let you know what I had for lunch today. I eat very simple. I usually eat raw vegetables. So today, for example, I had some hummus with some carrots and some broccoli and some nuts. And that's typically the way I eat. I won't always eat broccoli and carrots, but it's usually just some vegetables and something like some nuts for some protein. And maybe a cup of hot tea. I didn't have that today, but I do drink quite a bit of tea as well. So I got some yellow stain on my teeth. But if you make food your medicine, you'll definitely stay younger longer. This I know. I'm living proof. Before I was living proof, I read about it from other people that made a lot of sense. There's a lot of knowledge going back several decades about a plant-based diet. The human body digests plants a lot more efficiently. There's a lot of vitamins and minerals in plants that we need. So, anyway, I don't have a lot to share about food. Again, if it's green, if it's a vegetable, you should probably eat it. Broccoli, kale, spinach, those are things I eat a lot of. But that said, let's get to one of the top stories of the day. Stan Lee, the man who created Marvel Comics, dead at 95. You might recall in February this year, February 1st, he was a top story. He was rushed to the hospital. Last year, July 6th, 2017, he lost his wife at age 93. All stories we've covered in recent times. What jumps out right away about him dying today is he began his comic creations in 1961. In 61, the 18th prime. Here we are in 2018. And today, the date of his death, November 12th, 2018, he reportedly died this morning. Today's date has numerology of 61. Began his comic career in 61. Dead now on a date with 61 numerology. Some other things definitely jump out as well. His upcoming 96th birthday would have been at the end of this year, December 28th. He died 46 days shy. And 46 is this number we see around death often. The word sacrifice, 46. He was known for making superheroes, and I couldn't help but notice that superhero equals 46. I'm sure you're familiar with comic books and superheroes. I probably don't have to elaborate much there. But again, in light of this code having a lot to do with the Bible in the beginning, do not forget that Genesis 46 begins with a sacrifice. In light of him dying short of his 96th birthday, don't forget that Stanley, with the alphabetic order, sums 96. He died 46 days shy of the 96th birthday. Just got a text message. Somebody asked if we're going to be taking phone calls. We'll take the calls at the end. We'll make that the daily routine. People want to call in and talk about something to add. The last segment will be the calls. Okay? That'll be part of the consistent schedule. So if you can hold off till the end, I will appreciate it. Regarding his wife's death of July 6th, 2017, in the US, we write that date 7/6. The rest of the world writes that date 6/7. We know that 76 and 67 have to do with blood sacrifice. 7/6 also connects to the name Stan Lee. Stan Lee. He was born Stanley. The artist name Stanley, obviously a play on his first name, but his wife died on the date with the numbers that corresponded with his own life. And in light of him being the creator of the Marvel Universe also 67. When you flip the alphabetic order around, Stanley sums to 93. She died at age 93. And consider Stan Lee makes me think of the NHL, the Stanley Cup. Canadian sport. Canada has not won the Stanley Cup since 93. The day his wife died, also the 187th day of the year, July 6th is. 187 associated with homicide. Stan Lee, his artist name, his entertainer name has that 113 gematria, special to the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Should mention that Scottish equals 113 and an ancient accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry equals 187. And now with my wheels churning in my mind, I'm thinking about how from 61, the year he began his operation, to 2018 is 57 years later, and Scottish Rite equals 57. So I'd overlooked that until just this moment. But that has some rhyme and reason to it. His wife dead on the 187th day of the year. They'd been married since 1947, him and his wife. Long marriage. So, coming back to his death and thinking about his wife's death, what's interesting is the next Marvel film Hollywood release to come out will be June 7th, 2019, another 7/6 date. Stan Lee will not be here for that. And again, I have no doubt that the release of this film is, in tribute to him. And what else is interesting is the word Phoenix has gematria of 46, like how he's died 46 days before his own birthday. Dark Phoenix, July 6, 2019. From his wife's death to his death is, I wrote 70 months here. That's supposed to say weeks. He died 70 weeks and 4 days after his wife. That reminds me a bit of 74. Marvel Comics 74. Can't overlook that post time there. 1039. Reminds me of 139. Freemasonry. America. So there it was, the first character of his career, Jack Kirby in 61. The Fantastic Four. Remember when he was hospitalized, it was just days before the Black Panther movie released. He was hospitalized February 1st, released February 2nd. The film came out February 16th. He was hospitalized 15 days before the release of the film. The film released on the 47th day of the year, 47 the 15th prime. So again, dead on a date with 61 numerology. It all began in 61. 61 the 18th prime. We're in 2018. He died at Sinai Medical Center. And again, seems that celebrities, this is where they go to die. And I wonder how many people are being taken to this hospital and being permanently put to sleep. Over the years, many suspicious and numerological deaths have traced back to this hospital. And of course, we're often talking about murder by numbers when it comes to the celebs who live overwhelmingly in Los Angeles. From his hospitalization, February 1st, to his death was 9 months and 11 days later. Just yesterday, the day prior, November 11th, what used to be the ninth month, the 11th day of the Julian calendar, we saw all sorts of rituals with 9/11. So here, a day after, it goes 9 months, 11 days later. What that makes me think of is, again, 911 is the 156th prime. When you write out 33, it equals 156. The name Stanley also has that gematria 33. It's been 40 weeks and 4 days, a bit like 44. Comics is 44, so is Kill. Also noteworthy, when you write out November 12th, it sums to 73, like sacrifice, like ritual sacrifice. And you know what? I'm thinking about the other numerology for today's date. Today's date has 41 numerology as well. 11 plus 12 plus 18 is 41. Stan Lee is 41. I believe something else about his comic books are 41. Comic book is 41. The day he was hospitalized had 41 numerology. So there's also that relationship with his death today. Hospitalized on a date with 41 numerology. Stan Lee 41. Comic book 41. Today has the 41 numerology. This is what we continue to see. These stories of elderly people being hospitalized and then dying in connection to the same numbers as their hospitalization. Covered that with a number of astronauts in 2017. More of his name gematria is here. Stanley Lieber is 57, like Scottish Rite, dead 57 years. This is his birth name, just so you know. Stanley Martin Lieber, Jewish man, dead 57 years after his career began. Don't forget that Scottish Rite is 57 in this cipher, the most Jewish branch of Freemasonry. Jews, the plural with the alphabetic order, is 57. So, some coincidence. Little too numerological. And the sad thing is about when these elderly people get it, I mean, it's like good luck explaining this to anyone outside of the most awake because, you know, most people will just say, oh, come on, he was an old man. He was lucky to have lived in 95, which is absolutely true. But, you know, when you're awake and you realize what's going on in this world, you see it's all ritual again and again. I got to turn this Siri off on my phone. It comes on all the time when I'm talking. All right. Also, I made a real quick video on this morning. Vatican orders U.S. bishops to delay taking action on sexual abuse crisis. And of course, it comes 35 days before the Pope's birthday. 35 days, the big Catholic number. The word sexual is also 35. Remember, JFK, the only Catholic president, he was number 35. He was elected on a date with 35 numerology. And for the kicker, he ran against Richard Nixon, who was on his 305th day of his age, the day of that election. Nixon would later be elected president. He just had to go through the ritual with JFK first. Something else I got to point out. My dad's now contributing to the research. I was telling him about the fires down in California and how they're synced up with the World Series again this year. Because I was telling him about this last year. And I said, did you catch in the NHL that the Calgary Flames rolled into town to beat the LA Kings? That was our gimme pick Friday night for Friday night Decoding Live. He said, "Oh, we just know the Flames are going to win in LA while the city's burning." That's just the ultimate mocking right there. No coincidence in the scheduling. Just proof that this is all ritual. But my dad, I think he's starting to come around. I think he's starting to wake up, approaching 70 years old. How old's my dad? He's born in 53, so he turned 65 this year. He's rounding up to 70, but my dad, he's the kind of guy that's worked hard his whole life, and when he's not working, he just wants to watch his sports teams play ball. But trying to get him to wake up to some things, and I think he's actually coming around because I was explaining this to him, and he goes, "You know what I saw that seemed funny to me?" He said, "I heard there was a big power outage down there before the fire started," and I said, "Well, that speaks to the type of thing people were documenting coming down from the sky, which the news media dismissed as fire whirls. People saw these beads of fire coming down out of the sky, and the media came out and explained that that's just, that's just what happens when these powerful fires occur. But who's really seen beads of fire come down out of the sky before? I haven't. Last year, blaming the California fires on Diablo winds, the way they spread. Nobody had ever heard of Diablo winds before, the Spanish word for devil. So anyway, that caught my dad off guard last year too. He was just saying, "I never heard of these Diablo winds. That's an interesting name." And he's heard me talk about the U.S. military testing, all the years of the explosives underground and in the skies. What were they really doing? Were they really just testing nuclear and atomic bombs, or were they testing out other kinds of weapons, which we never heard about? Again, I always remind people those projects were called the Manhattan Project. That's what they began with. And I think we saw the fruits of the Manhattan Project on September 11th, 2001. Whatever was used to turn those buildings to dust as they came crumbling to the ground. I mean, you can watch it over and over. You see that the buildings are disintegrating into dust as they collapse. That takes a lot of energy. And that's what this nation does. It takes a lot of our energy from our labor that turns into, currency that goes back to the government, and then they use that same revenue that we generate for them on continual weapons testing. These people have an agenda, a plan, mass control. Sometimes I wonder if they're just using us to, build the ultimate technology that just makes us obsolete, kind of like the Terminator films, when the machine takes over and the man's not needed, or when the machine becomes so smart that it surpasses the man. Anyway, California, one of the largest populations in the nation and in the world, and being tormented year after year now with these seemingly annual fires. It's not just the summer anymore. They seem to happen year round. And especially when the sports championships roll around. So anyway, there was a massive power outage just before the fire set, and we can speculate on why this might be. Is it because they knew they were going to surge the area with some energy weapon, and they didn't want, I don't know, destroy the power grid that was in place? Were they trying to prevent some other problem by instigating this fire? It just seems that these two events cannot be a coincidence. Mass power outage, then massive fire back to back. Again, this happened November 8th, 2018, a date with 57 numerology. The company that had the mass power outage is Pacific Gas and Electric Co. That's how they write their name out. Notice the gematria is 373, the 74th prime, like Masonic. Also 167, the 39th prime, like Masonry. And just as a reminder, November 8th had the 19 numerology to go with burn. PG&E, their acronym, has the gematria of 53 and burn 2. Wasn't long ago in Massachusetts, we saw all those fires, and we showed how the day that happened, it was synced up perfectly with the World Series. And I said, could this be another clue that the Red Sox are going to be in the World Series? Well, I guess it was. These here fires synced up with the World Series that Boston just won as well over Los Angeles. And again, another power company connected in the middle of the riddle. Energy. Comes back to energy. And speaking of 373, the 74th prime, let me remind you that just using the alphabetic order, like how Masonic 74, so was energy, so was weapon, and just for the record, so was nuclear. Remember, the World Trade Center is on the 74th meridian. Fire whirl. So speaking of sports and fires, yesterday in football, Los Angeles, Seattle. What happened, Seattle had a big fire. They're playing the team from LA. What do you know? Next thing, you got a big fire in Seattle. And this appears to be a tribute to the Great Seattle Fire. Of course, we got the Masonic numbers all over this as well. Show you what's so interesting here. This began late November 10th, around 9 p.m. November 10th, and burned into the next day, November 11th, the day of the football game. Northwest Millwork, the company name that burned. Queen Anne Ballard area, if you're familiar with Seattle. Along the canal that takes you out to Puget Sound, connects with Lake Union and then into Lake Washington. So I noticed that the June 6th, 1889 fire of Seattle was a date with 119 numerology. 6 plus 6 plus 18 plus 89, 119. In light of it being on 6-6, remember, 66 is the 11th triangular number, meaning if you add 1 through 11 together, it equals 66. So this fire ends up burning in Seattle from 11:10 into 11:11. From the anniversary of the Great Seattle Fire to this fire was 158 days later. Freemasonry, 158. Also 5 months and 5 days, burn 55. Should also mention that Los Angeles has the gematria of 55 as well. In light of Seattle playing Los Angeles, both cities having big fires, meeting in the NFL. The date also of the Great Seattle Fire, 6/6/89, was a date with 101 numerology. 101 is the 26th prime. Burn sums to 26, as does torch. Going all the way back to the Great Chicago Fire, all of these rituals, they point in one direction to Freemasonry. Always, Freemasonry, the pursuit of light. Guess it makes it easy to pursue it when you just set something on fire. It's just right there in front of you. The other thing that jumped out about this ritual in light of the whole Freemason thing is look at how Queen Anne, the neighborhood where this company is set, overlaps with Freemason. Queen Anne, Freemason, the same in 3 of the 4 base ciphers. Northwest Millwork, their shortened name, 96. What burned? The date the fire began, a date with 39 numerology. Queen Anne's also 39. Masonry is also 39 in that cipher, 39 books in the Old Testament. There's also a date with 59 numerology. Remember, Freemasonry sums to 59 in Hebrew and English. What else jumped out to me was that Burnt Offering and Northwest Millwork and Gascoigne Lumber, the full name of the company, they have gematria overlap. If you missed my work on the Grenfell Tower fire, that thing was a massive ritual by the numbers. And it had the burnt offering numbers as well. So it doesn't seem to be any accident. Seems to be a massive insurance fraud. And again, it's on prime real estate. Real estate's through the roof in Seattle. This will be some property to build along the water line. See what they put there in its place. So, okay. Now another thing, I put out a video talking about this in my car yesterday, but I think this is the type of thing where you can get people to open their eyes. I think a lot of people understand that 11/11, November 11th, on the Julian calendar was the ninth month, the 11th day. So it's 9/11 in the old world. And I mean, what are the odds that George W. Bush is receiving an honorary medal on this day? You know, the man whose father gave the speech about the New World Order, a world freer of terrorism on 9/11 in the year 1990. And so many of you out there think that that speech was given in 91, 10 years to the day, because a ton of YouTube videos exist that have the wrong date up there. In people's minds, they like it better that way, 10 years, because they think in terms of intervals of 5 and 10. But the speech was actually given September 11th, 1990. And I was having this, it's not even really an argument because it's just a fact. But last night I posted to somebody, I said, no, it wasn't in 1991. It was 11 years to the day. And the person said, no, I have it right here. And then they linked a video that shows the speech, George W. Bush, September 11th, 1991. And it just makes me bang my head in the wall, because it's like, why do you think that's research? Somebody else's YouTube headline's the proof. So then I linked to them the actual George H.W. Bush speech from the government website with the right date, September 11th, 1990, and then they didn't respond anymore. But it's more important that it was 11 years to the day. 11 is the master number. It was the big number on 9/11. The 11th day, the first flight was AA-11. New York's the 11th state. The buildings, the World Trade Centers, look like massive 11s in the New York skyline, which is, again, the 11th state. Those buildings were 110 stories tall. Using the alphabetic order, Osama bin Laden equals 110. Think about 110. 110, 11 with a 0 on the end. The name Rockefeller with the alphabetic order is also 110. And it was the Rockefellers who provided the initial funding to start that project. I believe that was 1961 where they got the funding going for the World Trade Centers. So anyway, George W. Bush on this date is getting this, Liberty Medal. Makes me sick. Also at the same time, what's big in the headlines is the Florida recount, the first of its kind since 2000, when he became president-elect. And wait till I show you how Jeb Bush connects to this so perfectly. It's just crazy. It's crazy how well they have all this stuff mapped out and how sick the rituals are. So anyway, we got the medal on the Julian calendar, 9/11. We got the Florida recount. We got Anthony Bourdain's last episode, which might be a harder piece to connect for some people. If you can explain to them that 9/11 is the 156th prime. Anthony Bourdain from New York. He died 156 days before his last episode, which aired on this same day. 9/11, the 156th prime. Dead 156 days before the last episode set in New York. And when you write out 33, it sums to 156. New York's 33. 11/11/2018 was a date with 33 numerology. In fact, in numerology terms, this date was just 11/11/11. The numerology of 2018 is 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 8, 11. 11 is the master number. You don't have to break it down any further. So the ultimate 11 date. And then the other piece you could connect is the construction firm that built the World Trade Centers is from Seattle. Their name is Magnuson Klemenkic Associates. Their name in gematria sums to 111, like New York, like how September 11th leaves 111 days left in the year. And think about how the fire in Seattle, which burned into 11/11/2018, think about how it began on 11/10, which is 1110, 111 sequence. But anyway, all of these stories, I have no doubt, are part of a sick ritual, a sick Masonic ritual. King George gets the medal, Florida recount to mock us of our history. And remember, we're in the 17-year anniversary of 9/11. I explained why on September 11th, 2018, the 17-year anniversary is the most important anniversary since the day happened. And just in case you missed that, here's why. The Pentagon construction began on that building exactly 77 years earlier, September 11th, 1941. Remember on 9/11, 77 was the number with the Pentagon. Flight 77 hit the Pentagon 77 minutes after taking off. The Pentagon's on the 77th meridian. It's 77 feet tall. When you write out World Trade Center with the alphabetic order and rules of numerology, our most pure cipher. When you write out World Trade Center and when you write out September 11th, both phrases sum to 77. World Trade Center 77, September 11th 77. The 77-year anniversary of construction starting on the 77-foot tall Pentagon, September 11th, 2018. The other thing was George W. Bush was in the classroom in Florida. Recall. You can go back and look at this scene on the whiteboard. My Pet Goat, page 153 is written. The title of that story has gematria of 153, and 153 is the 17th triangular number. This year was the 17-year anniversary. So I don't think it's any accident that on the next closest date to 9/11, we get this ritual with George W. Bush. Also, just days ago, another perfect ritual with the Bush family was the marriage of George W. Bush's daughter. And all of these things, they're clues that something bigger is coming. And I think that's going to be August 11th, 2019. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of things before then. But that's going to happen within this window of the 17-year anniversary of 9/11. In case you're new here and you haven't seen my work on August 11th, 2019, please go to my YouTube channel. Got a long playlist and bringing up new information about that date. Always. A lot of people got their eyes open looking for clues. Now, there's another thing here about George W. Bush getting this this medal from Joe Biden. And I should also let you know that Liberty and Veterans Day have gematria of 44, like military, like how the World Trade Centers were opened on April 4th, 4/4, 1973, like how kill equals 44. But in light of it being Joe Biden to give him the medal, Joe Biden, after the Oklahoma City bombing, Joe Biden put up legislation, anti-terrorism legislation, which was rejected after OKC, but which became part of the Patriot Act after September 11, 2001. And if you've read my book, you know how OKC, Timothy McVeigh, 9/11, how they're all perfectly synced up. They're all interconnected rituals carried out, at least in part, by our own government. Another thing I should point out about George W. Bush, he got this medal on his 129th day of his age. America equals 129 Jewish gematria. The Seattle fire was of a company that was 129 years old. Coincidence? I don't think so. I do not think so. Joe Biden's 75 years old at the time of this this ritual. Don't forget that New World Order is 75, so is Order Out of Chaos. Order Out of Chaos also has that gematria of 183. It was 18 weeks and 3 days after W's birthday. So, speaking of George W. Bush and rituals, again, right now, the Florida recount, and it began today officially. A date was 61 numerology, the 18th prime. It was 18 years ago, 2000, that the recount happened. Look at this right here. It was November 9th that this came out, that started this whole thing. Broward County Elections Supervisor Brenda Snipes won't tell reporters how many ballots are left. So this county here got the snowball rolling on November 9th. And Then over the weekend, this grew into a greater debate, and they decided they needed to have the recount, which officially started today. November 9th is another date that can be written 9/11, right? And look at how old Jeb Bush was. He's 65 years old right now. Florida equals 65 with the alphabetic order. From his 65th birthday to this happening on November 9th was 271 days later. The reason that's funny is because when George W. Bush won the election, he won with 271 electoral votes. And 271 is the 58th prime number. George W. Bush equals 58, Bush 58, Freemasonry 58, Secret Society 58, Washington 58, United States 58. It reminds about the quote, it doesn't matter who votes, it matters who counts the votes, you know? And the thing about this woman that they're using here, Brenda Snipes, part of me wonders if she's related to Wesley Snipes, but the thing about her name is this Brenda Snipes equals 54. This was the 54th US presidential election. You think that's a coincidence? I don't. Also, November 9th, 2018, the day this controversy started, thanks to Brenda Snipes, it was a date with 58 numerology. What are the odds? What are the odds? So, looks to be more mass mocking by the numbers, if you ask me. And again, you don't even really need the numbers to see it. I mean, who could look at the headlines yesterday and go, wait a minute, recount in Florida, George W. Bush getting a medal? You know? So again, just in case you missed my work on Anthony Bourdain, he reportedly committed suicide June 8th in a town with 68 gematria. From his date of death to his final episode, 156 days later, he's from New York. The final episode's in New York. Remember, 911, the 156th prime number. November 11th is the 9th month, the 11th day on the Julian calendar. When you write out 33, it's 156, like the number of a man, like people, like person, like masonry, like secrecy, like order. New York and Sunday are also 33. Doesn't it seem a little bit too perfect? And it being New York in light of the other things happening in the calendar? This is why for years I've been saying the beauty of gematria is once you learn the code, you see how these things that seemingly could be coincidental in the headlines aren't. I'll tell you what, 15 years ago, I would have looked at the Bush and the Florida recount thing and I would have said, look at the mocking. I probably wouldn't have been able to connect the Seattle fire because I don't know if at that point I'd figured out that the construction firm that built the World Trade Centers was from Seattle. But I definitely wouldn't have been able to connect the Anthony Bourdain thing. I might have thought, how interesting that, he died. He's a New York guy. His final episode's in New York on this same day in light of the Bush ritual. But now, knowing the code, it's just like, oh my God, this stuff is sick, And think about June 8th as well. Here's another thought. I don't know how let me put this. You know what I'm going to say about 68 and 9/11, right? Error has that gematria 68. CIA from George W. Bush's birthday to September 11th is a span of 68 days. In 1968, World Trade Center construction began. 911 was made the national emergency dialing code. George W. Bush graduated from Yale in Skull and Bones. So here's the little 68 ritual to go into this whole planned ordeal. And again, June 8th can also be written 8/6, like 86, Blood Sacrifice 86, Chef 86. On August 6th this year, one of France's most well-known chefs kicked the bucket. Anthony Bourdain died in France in Kaiserberg, gematria of 68. When Anthony Bourdain first died, they had a different town reported, a town with 187 gematria. They changed it later to that, Kaiserberg. My older blog post has the original town reported. So anyway, I think if you got somebody on the fence of waking up And maybe if you're trying to introduce this gematria thing, maybe try to show them that whole puzzle right there and see how they react. But I would just start on the surface with the Florida recount and Bush getting the medal and the Julian calendar piece, because I think those are easier pieces of information for the average person to digest. But if you got someone who's a little more awake, show them the greater connections. So I want to send a thank you. A woman from Michigan reached out to me on the Gematria hotline, and she said, you got to look into the death of Adam Housley's niece, who was reportedly killed in the shooting in Los Angeles at the Borderline bar. And I've seen some other YouTube channels now have a picture of the survivors of the Vegas shooting of October 1st, 2017 at the Borderline bar. If you haven't seen that image circulating, it's out there. Do a search. All these people smiling, looking real happy. Now, supposedly, some of them the victims of this most recent shooting. But anyway, one of the supposed victims is Adam Housley's niece. He was a Fox News anchor and a former baseball player. He played for a Major League Farm team. Remember, the baseball is a big theme with this. It's connected to the World Series. The image put out of the man named Kaufman who died, I believe his name was Cody Kaufman, CC. They have him in an umpire uniform standing next to a kid with a catcher's mask on. So now we get the death of the niece of a member of the media and a guy who also has a baseball history. And check this out. Adam Housley just recently left Fox News at the end of August. So not long ago. He's currently 46 years old, the chaos number, also the sacrifice number. And from his 46th birthday, August 13th, to the death of his niece, November 7th, was 86 days later, the blood sacrifice number. Also a number coded all over the shooting. Remember, Las Vegas also has the 86 gematria, and this event synced up with Las Vegas. His first name, his birth name is actually Arthur Adam Housley. Arthur has that gematria of 86 as well. So dead 86 days after Arthur's birthday, his niece, who was 18, don't forget that active shooter equals 61, the 18th prime. His name has some other interesting standout numbers. 96 Freemasons, 75 Order Out of Chaos. The girl's name has gematria of 73 like sacrifice, like ritual sacrifice, 53 like shooting, like Los Angeles, 143 like Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, 38 like death, 43 like killing, 33, can't ignore that, false flag, masonry. Masonry sums to 33, 84, and 105 in these same ciphers. Housley. Got dyslexic here. That's supposed to say 84. Somebody also made a point just about Thousand Oaks and trees and Kabbalah and gematria. It's an interesting thought. A lot of stuff going down in Thousand Oaks. So what a coincidence, 86 days after his birthday. Just wanted to be with his family. That's why he left Fox News. Just makes you wonder. He's not that old of a man. He just wanted to give up his career to be with his family. Did he get some information? Did he find out that he was going to have to participate in this? He was going to have to give up somebody in his own family? Did he have to make a choice? Hard to know all what's going on behind the scenes, but the numbers give us some major clues. Also, another top story. The man who's performed more than any other at Madison Square Garden, Billy Joel, the man known for the song We Didn't Start the Fire. He was performing last night with Joe Perry of Aerosmith, and Joe Perry collapsed. He had to be taken to the hospital. And couldn't help but notice that Joe Perry's 68 in New York City in light of the rituals going on with 9/11. You know what I mean? 68-year-old. And look at what day he's born. He's born the day before September 11th. I mean, his birthday's right there, too. So that jumped right away. Going, my goodness, 68 years old, New York City, all these 9/11 rituals. And then the other thing is Billy Joel. This came on his 187th day of his age. Nobody's ever performed more in Madison Square Garden than Billy Joel. He holds the record. Billy equals 60. It was a date with 60 numerology. So keep our eyes on Joe Perry. But him being 68, New York, everything else going on in the world, hard to call it a coincidence. Something we talked about before in regards to the song We Didn't Start the Fire. It came out on the Jesuit order's birthday. You know, those old Jesuits. And just for one little bonus thing, yesterday, Sunday, November 11th, 2018, top story, Turkey shares tapes on Khashoggi's death. Khashoggi, however you say his name. Or excuse me, this was not November 11th. This story came out November 10th. My fault. Came out Saturday. This was a top headline Saturday. Saturday had the 59 date numerology. Remember, Jamal Khashoggi's name equals 59 in Gematria. He was 59 years old. This story became international news in October on a date with 59 numerology. Number we've talked about again and again and again. And then this story kind of went on the back burner with everything else going on. But then it becomes a top headline on the date with 59 numerology, where again, Freemasonry sums to 59 in Hebrew and English. 59 is the 17th prime. Mason 17, Kill 17. Modern Freemasonry began in the year 1717. So those were the stories I really wanted to cover. And if anybody wants to phone in, something I should double check is make sure we're going live here. How do I get to the make sure we got people in the chat? Looks like we are going live. That's good. There are people in the chat. Well, if anyone in the chat wants to phone in with something important to say, I'm opening up the call line. Again, it's 509 731 0567. Just checking out the comments here in the chat. Pat Mahomes' girlfriend's stepfather dying. Let me look at it. Patrick Mahomes. If I just search Patrick Mahomes' stepfather, it should pull it up. All right, we got a caller. We'll look at this. We'll take the call and then we'll look at this. Hello, caller.
Oh, hey. I'm just here in Orville wondering if I'm going to be evacuated.
Wow, you guys have had all sorts of scares there.
Let me turn you off because I'm hearing. Okay. So anyway, yeah, there's a lot going on. Anyway, I don't even know where to begin. Okay, I guess I'll start with the TV personality Guy Fieri was cooking for the firemen at Butte College. So if you look at his name, Fury and Fire, they have the same gematria. And then you were just talking about the other TV cook. And okay, I'll just stop right there for a minute. Oh, also, you were mentioning the number. Are you still there?
I'm here, yeah.
You were mentioning the number 11, and it's 11:11 today.
Well, yesterday.
Well, early
yesterday.
in the morning, I check the numbers every day that they come up with for the fire, and it was 11. 111,000 acres. So you have the 111. Then there was 222 people missing. And there was another, and plus you still have the 29 dead. So that's an 11. But then they updated it. So now there's 113,000 acres and 228 missing. But the sheriff just had to add that there were 66 calls for looting. That just was 11. So every day they code different numbers. So
sure. Anyway, so like
anyway,
228, what you just said, that's fire equals 228 when you multiply the alphabetic order times 6. So yeah, as
okay.
66 is the 11th triangular number. So yeah, you're right. I mean, they just code different numbers that have significance to the key points in the story. And it really does seem that it's a matrix of false information and numerological tributes. It makes you wonder how many people have really been hurt and displaced.
Well, no, I know my vet is gone. When last February, when we had to leave because of the dam maybe flooding, I went to Paradise. The person I stayed with, her mobile's gone. My vet that I took my animals to, completely gone. I've seen pictures of it. It's as bad as they say.
Oh, I believe it. I'm just saying that they might underreport how many people are really hurt, though.
Oh, no, they're going to keep adding. They're going to find so many bodies because it happened early in the morning. Paradise is a community for seniors originally. Well, first it was called Paradise for a paradise that was gambling. And it's all gold up here. So you've got the gold, which connects to the fire, the word fire, 49ers, all that stuff is connected. But what happened sometime, I don't know, but Paradise became a home for the LAPD who retired. So it's known for that. Now it's more of a bedroom community. I'm getting nervous because I'm subconscious. I'm on the phone. So anyway, it's kind of interesting.
It is interesting, and it's also tragic. I'm sorry you're having to go through this. Don't be nervous when you talk to me. But
I'm not nervous talking to you. I'm nervous because I know it's public, you know.
Oh, sure. Well,
anyway, I've been a little kind of manic about this. Also, the number 118 was kind of significant because that's when the fire started. On 11, the following day was significant, but I didn't quite know how. But all the fires here are connected from the car fire to, which is in Redding, which is north of us. Then you have an area in the Sierras, which is Quincy. And they had a Minerva fire 2 summers ago, and that was during the high camp of the Bohemian Grove, which is a crow flies of maybe 100 miles towards the ocean. So the Minerva fire was really weird, and that's when I started noting the connection between the occult symbolism and our fires and how they're all connected. Mm-hmm. So on 11/9. There was a memorial service for a fallen fire chief who died at a public meeting in Quincy where the Minerva fire was the year before. Oh. He collapsed and he died, and the memorial service was on 11/9, the day after Paradise burned. And during the briefing, they even held a 1-minute silence for their fallen guy. So all these fires are related, occult-wise. Then we have the Masonic fire. The Cause fire, which was in Redding, and you have the caused by the flat tire. That also has Quincy connections. I won't go into it, but they're all connected. So, one more thing. PG&E is now there's a new law that the ratepayers, my electric bill, all the people using PG&E for electricity PG&E can bill us for the liability of these fires. This all came into effect this summer, I think after the car fire. Huh. They're going to pick up the bill because it's, better than a single arsonist, right? You don't get much money out of a guy in jail. So they're going to, that's where the funding for this is going to come from. But what was I going to say? Something about, so PG&E, so to stop the liability, what PG&E was going to do was they're putting out power, all the towns, all the areas in rural areas like Butte County, the forest areas, they were going to stop the power for 5 days when this wind was going to come up. So now they're just, everybody in the country now is going to get used to not having power all summer long or when there's a high wind. So they've been doing it. People are stuck up in these, rural areas with no electricity for 5 days. And they decided this time, well, we're not going to do it. Instead, we're just going to burn down paradise. Basically, that's what happened. They didn't say that was the result, but it's just too coincidental. PG&E is not that stupid to let a fire take place. They were already blamed for a Calaveras fire, which is another Gulf Country fire about an hour south of us. And 86,000 acres were burnt because of the same thing that's happened here. A fire starting under these power lines up north of a river and a deep slope. So anyway, did I wear you out?
Oh no, you have a lot of great information. I'm really appreciating it. Yeah, you're helping us see a lot of pieces of the puzzle that are on the table. But yeah, it's
anyway, yeah, it's the fire. Unfortunately, living it is kind of a bummer because I can't talk to this. Very few people who are going through this can hear this because it's too shocking. I can't share with people this is probably planned. People can't handle it. So.
You read my mind. I was just about to ask you, can you talk to people in your community about this? So.
No, but I do put it on my Facebook page. But I only have 16 friends.
Did you used to?
Crazy. They know it, so I don't have to worry about talking to doesn't go outside my small circle. So.
Sure, yeah, and I know how when you share truth-related stuff, your friends seem to go down on Facebook. Sadly, so.
Well, I never wanted them. I'm old enough to when I started Facebook, I knew I didn't want a lot of friends. If I was younger and it started, I would have thought that was cool. But no, 16 is
How close is the fire to your town in Oroville?
The fire is now in Oroville, coming to Oroville, and if you look at Oroville, Oroville is spelled O-R-O, gold. It means gold in Spanish. So Oroville, okay, you have Paradise, the city of Paradise, and we're all in Butte County, but Oroville, Cherokee, Concal, these other Concal that burnt down, Cherokee, where the fire now is, in addition to Paradise still. But we are I'm in the city of Oroville, but Oroville is the greater Oroville area. So the dam is in the greater Oroville area. Berry Creek, all these places on fire now, we're in the greater Oroville area. So they haven't given us a warning yet, but, I don't trust them. Every day I have to go hose my house off because I don't want to be evacuated. And once you're evacuated, you don't get in.
Sure.
You don't get in. So, anyway.
Well, what scares me about the town name is it has the same gematria as Major League, and this ritual seems to have a lot to do with the baseball thing. So.
Hey, we have a lot to do with the Golden Gate Bridge. We're 45-108 twice. On the four sides.
Yeah, that's what I noticed.
I was afraid in 811 the dam would go. But I go, no, 11-8, and the fire came, But it went to Paradise, not us. But it can still come. But I talked to I have a fire chief friend who's retired, and he said that we don't have the geography to burn like Paradise, because Paradise was literally in the woods, and they had the upper and the higher growth. They're not going to if it does burn, it's all going to be a fake burn. They can make it burn. But Paradise was really easy to burn down. Very, very easy.
I see.
Oroville will be a little harder, but as you know, the embers, they go a mile. You know how they keep pushing this, how far these fires spread, an ember. And I guess now the Cherokee, what's happening towards the dam is the fire jumped 300 feet across the river. So anyway, they come up with funny little stories as to why a place can burn down that shouldn't. But anyway, my fire chief said, I asked him, well, are we going to be burnt down? And he said, no, Orville. He thought Orville was okay. It more likely would go to Chico, but he also said he did not expect the fire to go to Paradise from where it started. And he's a fire inspector. So that was unusual that it actually, from where it started to how it got to Paradise, that was a little unusual. But it was a very steep slope. It was under these big power lines. And what people don't get is these power lines are huge. They're like in the middle of a 6-lane freeway. And they're hundreds of feet tall. What branch is fucking going to hit these things?
Right.
You need a 1,000-foot tree to hit these things. And they're not going to be in these high winds. PG&E, none of their idiot people would be working on any of this stuff with the fire danger unless they wanted to cause it or they're copying to it. They probably didn't even cause it. They're just going to, probably go ahead and say they did it. Also, PG&E, very big in California. I don't know about other states. But it started in a place called Greenville, which is just part of the Feather River Basin, which is just a little north of where the fire started, maybe in a different type of area. So this is kind of where the home of PG started. So it's interesting. They'll take the rap for this. They're going to take the fall, and then all the ratepayers get to pay more.
Well, I'm sorry you're having to go through all this.
Well, it's kind of exciting, but it sucks. It totally sucks.
Sure.
Yes, I agree.
How is the sky full of smoke there?
Yes, it is, and ashes falling. The first day of the fire, it was beautiful, but then I think the third and the second day was okay, but then the second day it got weird. But it's very dark. It feels like, if you know what Thule fog is, that's when you get this. In the winter, we get this fog over us in the valley of California, the Sacramento Valley, and the cold air is trapped underneath. And it can be sunny up, maybe 1,000 feet up. It's sunny, but we're freezing. Well, that smoke created this very cold climate. And now it's like 10 degrees cooler than it would normally be. It's
right.
Freezing days.
Yeah. I know how that is. It was super smoky here this summer in central Washington. We had fires burning all the way around us, and the sky was dark in the daytime. So.
Yeah, in the summer it keeps it nice, but in the winter it's freezing. It's
right.
amazing how
right.
cold it was.
Oh yeah, no, I get that.
I mean, the fire is nice when you have the cooling from the smoke, and you're like 100 miles away. Then it's nice, It's not nice when you're in it, but okay. So I think I shot my wad here.
Well, you gave us a lot of information. I appreciate your call, and I hope you stay safe, and I hope the fire doesn't reach there. But
well, you know what? I'm close to the rice field. It's just a hassle, but people that really, it's absolutely devastating for a sweet little town like Paradise. I thought we were going to lose Orville when the dam was made to go.
Right, you guys have had to go through a lot. The dam threat, now the fires.
Yeah, Sheriff is having fun with us. We're good little guinea pigs for him.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
A lot of people evacuated yesterday. They talked about evacuating the town yesterday, but because it was such a mess the last time, they just decided to evacuate the foothills, which is Berry Creek, some of the other places. They're already evacuated. Anyway.
All right, well, you be safe.
I'm listening to you, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. You be safe out there. We're thinking of you.
Okay.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye. All right, I saw a lot of you guys were trying to phone in during the conversation. The line is open. It's not like a TFR. There we go. There's our friend from New York. How are you?
Hey, how are you doing, Zach? I just want to make this quick. When you were talking about Stan Lee and you talk about the next Marvel movie is The Dark Phoenix, when you said The Dark Phoenix, I thought about that economics cover with the and they got the cover with the
yeah.
19 in black. That's what I was thinking about with that.
Right. That's a great thought, too. The Phoenix coming out of the burning money. The Phoenix rising from the ashes of the money. Very interesting.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I just wanted to make that quick point when you said I talked about that. When we should measure the dates from the economic cover to the movie to 8/11 too. We should just measure that just to see.
All right, I got was the release date of that movie June 7th? I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me see. That is a great thought there. Let's see.
All right, so I'll let you do that. I'll let you get to the next call. But I just wanted you to just look into that, to the next economics cover and the doc, that movie. I just think that's a connection to that.
You're probably right about that. I'm going to think more about it. Thanks so much, friend. Always great observations.
Okay.
All right, take care. Yeah, for those who weren't with us earlier, who tuned in late, we were talking about how Stan Lee, the next Marvel movie to come out, is Dark Phoenix, what it has to do with his death, what it has to do with his wife's death. And that's a span of 66 days from August 11th. 9 weeks and 3 days, too. It's interesting. All right, the call line's open if anybody wants to phone in. So, if not, we can call it a session. YouTube is down right now, but we're still getting through. We're not getting interrupted. I'm still connected, right? Okay. Ms. Mildred checked out the film Filth. Filth with the alphabetic order equals 55. The film came out on the author's 55th birthday. It's about corrupt police in Freemasonry solving their own crimes they commit. Disturbing movie. Ron Johnson. I saw that note. I typed it in here. Ron Johnson. Oh, he just died. He died on a date with 39 numerology. What do you know? New York running back dead on a date with 39 numerology. I see, right before the Monday night game. I got the highlight from 67, huh? Played at Michigan, too. Keep in mind, Michigan with the upcoming college championship. Yeah, it's interesting that he dies as a New York Giant right before they're on prime time. Cleveland Browns, too. Cleveland Browns got the big win over Atlanta. One of the shockers of the weekend. Dead on a date with 59 numerology, too. 59, black man. 59, the 17th prime, born on the 17th. Played in Ohio for Cleveland, the 17th state. Check his name gematria real quick. Got to look at the Patrick Mahomes thing, too. Ron Johnson, 47. The name Ron alone's 47. Ohio, 47. How about his full name? He died 24 days after his birthday or on his 25th day of his age. Death, 25. 24, the reflection of 42. His name's got 99 gematria to go with the 99th NFL season. I was wondering if we might see that. And how old was he? 71? He was 71. Oh. Browns equals 71. Before the Browns' big win. So but if nobody else is going to call, that's all right. We'll look up Patrick Mahomes. Somebody said look up the death of his girlfriend's stepfather's death. At the stadium during the game, huh? On the day he set a record. So he sets a record, and the girlfriend's stepfather collapses. Here we got another caller.
The girlfriend's stepfather collapses.
Hey, caller, you're on, but you're going to want to mute the video in the background.
Another caller. Yeah, I just
Caller?
crazy. You there?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, I just really wanted to, kind of let you know, I kind of feel your pain on the how difficult it is to get the message through, because I never really tried to do it as much until, I started following you. And like all day Saturday, I kept telling everybody, oh, it's in the numbers, Tennessee's going to win. And everybody, oh, you're full of it, you're full of it. And then after several sports games happened, kind of like you said it would, everybody, oh, it's just coincidence, just coincidence. I don't know. I like to say I can kind of feel your pain because everybody's doing exactly what you've been saying they do. They just dismiss you.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Ridiculous.
I'll never forget the day I was in a room with a bunch of Seahawks fans, and it was the Sunday night football game, and I'd already watched this pattern that I was looking for happen in the games, and I said, just watch. The Seahawks are going to lose this game, and the final score is going to sum to 44 points. And everyone's like, oh, get out of here. You're full of it. I was like, just watch. And sure enough, the Seahawks lost, and the final score summed to 44 points. And even then, they were saying it's just a coincidence. And I was like, you guys got to be kidding me. So.
Well, that's how it happened for me Saturday when I was trying to tell everybody around here the same thing, and they just kept blowing me off. And I tried to point everybody in your direction that I know, because I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You're kind of a hero now to me, because I don't know. Like I left on your comments. I mean, I was only half awake till I found your videos and all your work. I mean, I really appreciate what you're doing. I mean, I'm behind you 100%.
Well, I appreciate it, friend. But yeah, I mean, it's like everything in this world, there's a double-edged sword. It's nice to have the knowledge, but then when you have the knowledge, it makes you more isolated because you want to share this with people and they don't want to hear about it. So.
Yep. Yeah, man. Well, I just wanted to holler at you and give you a shout out. I'll let somebody else go ahead and get in, or let you get back to the show.
Appreciate it, friend. Stay strong out there. All right. Appreciate you too, man. You have a good day. Thanks. Take care. Yeah, I think we all understand his call very much. So let's again just look at Patrick Mahomes, how old he is, how many days it was from his birthday that this happened. September 17th, 23 years old. Sets a record and loses a family member. Not a blood relative, though. On 11/11. So it came 55 days after his birthday, or on his 56th day. Also 7 weeks and 6 days. Sacrifice 55. Blood sacrifice 76. And it just makes you wonder, though. I mean, did somebody put something in his food, in his soda? Is there some sort of technology in this world where you can get in close proximity to people and target them and interrupt their heart? I mean, that's the thing about being in the dark still, not having the full awareness and knowledge that the people who do this operate by. They know the things that we don't know. So. Again, this was a symbolic game we talked about this weekend. We like the Chiefs to beat the Cardinals. Not too hard of a pick. But both teams once in Missouri, too. The Chiefs are still there. Cardinals used to be there. Just thinking about that. What was the name of the father? Did we get his name? I'm curious to see how it lined up with Lynn Dawson. Paul Massey, PM. Paul Massey. Paul Massey's got some gematria. There's some standout numbers. Massey's got that 82 like Vesica Piscis, the shape of the football. I would say his cause of death was ritual sacrifice for rig sports. All right, so we looked at Ron Johnson, Patrick Mahomes. You guys, I think we can wrap it up right here. As I say that, I'll just wait a few seconds to see if anybody has to get in a last phone call, something pressing we need to know about. Yeah, they could have all sorts of technology to impact somebody's what's going on with their physical body, you know? All right, you guys, really appreciate all the support and the people who called in. Sad to hear from the woman who's living with the fire in her backyard. Hopefully she's okay. But again, it's just another reminder why we have to get the masses to wake up. It's just like we're paying for this agenda of whatever you want to call it, mass destruction, mass evil, unnecessary ritual. I'm going back through the comments real quick, see if there was anything I missed. Jeremiah, today has 61 date numerology. Stan Lee began his career in 61. When this video ends, that's the first thing we talk about is Stan Lee. So once it ends, you'll be able to start it over from the beginning. Get everything you missed. Oh yeah, I've covered John Benet Ramsey before. She's from that town in Marietta. Had the shooting a few years back. So some of you guys are having computer problems, huh? Some of you say it's okay. That's interesting. All right, you guys, let's wrap it up for today. We'll be back tomorrow. We're doing this every day, so there'll be plenty to talk about. Save some stuff. And for all of you sports fans, somebody did a request. They said, hey, Zach, on Tuesday night, can you start doing like an hour thing reviewing the week's games from the week prior so we can learn from our mistakes? And I think that's a good idea, and I want to do that for the rest of the NFL season. We only have week 11. Well, we'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the first day we do it. So I guess it's week 10, 11, 12. So, you know, we'll do it for about 7 more weeks. But we'll try to do it short and sweet and see if we can really pick up on a pattern where we're missing on certain games. If you missed my work on Monday Night Football, put out that earlier today, and I mentioned something about the 3 games we got wrong this weekend. Not a bad weekend, but 3 games that I thought were easy picks we got wrong. So that's what was disappointing. But I noticed things about 2 of those games. The third one still got me stumped. So we'll be back tomorrow, you guys, and Tuesday night. Oh, Facebook went down today. I'll look at that too. Wasn't aware of that. But be back tomorrow for the podcast. I think I'm going to start doing around 1 o'clock in the afternoon time. I think that's going to be it Monday through Thursday, and then Friday might be a flexible day. And then tomorrow night, we're going to try out NFL Week in Rewind, where we go over our mistakes and see if we can iron out the kinks, what we're missing as a group. So appreciate all you guys. Oh, you know what? Tuesday night's not going to work because that's when we have gematria school. No, it's not going to be Tuesday night. Maybe it'll be, maybe we'll do it Tuesday earlier in the day. Maybe Tuesday late afternoon. We'll get this figured out. Yeah, I saw the Dow Jones is way down today. And I'm not surprised. Again, I said, the market's going to be a roller coaster until they crap it all the way out. It's no doubt that's what's coming, especially with the hit show House of Cards now being out. House of Cards comes back. It's all symbolism. It's all mockery. Monday during Monday night review. We could do it Monday night. We could do it Monday night after the games, but that's late on the East Coast. East Coast people got to sleep. We'll figure it out, Jeremy. We'll get it figured out. I'll think more on it, you guys. We'll be back tomorrow. Appreciate all of you once again. Your support means everything. Till next time, Truth Seekers.